All right, guys, how y'all doing today? Of course, always, today's episode is brought to you by AMMPLABS. Once again, we are American-made, motivating people. We are here to make and make you better. We're here to formulate the most amazing products that we can provide to you, okay? We specialize in supplementation, superfoods, and fitness coaching, driven to help you achieve the highest level of performance. Guys, if you are looking for a pre-workout right now or any type of supplements, go check out AMMPLABS.com. I'm using their pre-workout right now. It is absolutely amazing. If you're looking to gain good muscle size, endurance, focus, I highly recommend Fight Fuel pre-workout. It is the best on the market. So today, guys, I got a very special guest in the house, Mr. Erica Duprey. He has wrote a book that I'm actually very interested in learning about today. It is called The Lost Art of Faith. How you doing today, Eric?
Good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. So first off, I'm going to jump right into this, guys. I was not brought up in a church environment. We prayed. I said my prayers before I went to bed. I said grace, but we were not brought up in a church, man. We did not go to church very often. My parents were very hardworking, and, you know, growing up and learning and seeing what they did, it was more of a business entrepreneurship type of environment. So I'm actually very excited to learn as much as I can today from you and actually hear your story and why you wrote this amazing book. So tell me about it, man. Like what changed, how'd it go, and let me know some things that you think that might could help my journey that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, Jimmy, your story is probably no different than a lot of other folks that in America, we got a lot of hardworking parents. So I was raised by a single mother, putting herself through school. So she didn't have a lot of time to basically spend time with me on faith. And so faith is very important. It's the basic foundational principles that we're going to live our entire life by. Mm-hmm. And so it's not so much the brand of religion, but it's the faith that you cultivate. And the faith that you cultivate are the characteristics, the principles, all the things. But like you said, a lot of folks in the United States have extremely busy parents. So when they're working and they're doing all these things and not being able to spend the time with the children to explain how faith works, you know, it can be complex. And as young kids, you actually go through trial and error. Mm-hmm. So there's a part of your faith that you grow in faith by failure. In all aspects of business, it's the same thing. You learn by failure. And when you're younger, it's good to learn by failure because your mistakes aren't as catastrophic as they can be later down the road. Not mm-hmm. that they can't be, but the thing is, in youth, it's nice to fail at a younger age and learn and adapt. But yeah, a lot of parents, it's very difficult for them to instill some of these faith-based principles and understand the logic and the science behind faith to almost teach them like they do at school. And so, you know, if you try to go through and read the Bible and you read like a King James or Old English or something like that, is very cumbersome, it's long, it's difficult, and we don't pick that up the same because we're not taught the way that this is taught is different than how we're normally taught in typical education. And so if the parents don't have that skill, how do they relay that skill downward? They can't. Mm-hmm. So I wrote this book. I was going through a lot of therapy at one point in time, and the therapist said, "Hey, do you have any notes on your struggles and what you're going through?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I gave it to her. And then once she read it, she goes, "Wow, the way that you articulate this is very good." She goes, "You ever considered writing a book?" And I said, "I've never thought about writing a book a day in my life." I said, "Right now I'm going through the worst struggles in my life. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't have time to write a book." And, but once she kind of planted that seed, she goes, "It will be very therapeutic for you to start writing this out as if it were going to be a book, because it's part of your life story. It's important." And she goes, "Even if you don't publish it, it's important for you." And I don't think she realized, maybe she did, maybe she didn't realize how important that was for me, because it became therapy for me. I was getting my thoughts out. And once I put my thoughts on paper, it made me start doing some self-examination. of my life in its entirety. Why was I the way I was? Because what brought me to my knees was accepting the worst thing that I could possibly ever conceive having to accept in life, and that was to never be able to come home to my wife and my children for the rest of my life. I'm locked out of that door for the rest of my life. When my wife decided to divorce me, they brought me to my knees. All the businesses, all the success, I had achieved everything and beyond what I've ever dreamed of. And I was at the point of fulfilling that American dream and getting to a point where I could breathe, where I could say, I made it. And at that very moment, when I was almost at the pinnacle and the hiatus of all that, she wanted to check out. And it destroyed me. My heart, not just a heart broke, but it destroyed my soul. And the anger, the frustration, the panic, all this stuff. I'm like, I've been working so hard to build all this, to have everything taken from me by another person. And there was nothing that I could do. Once she had an attorney, once she had, the judge in Harris County said what they said, and that was it. I was like losing hope. And I was a person that I've always had extreme amounts of hope going. If I have the faith and I have the resources and I have the drive in me, nothing's impossible. Everything's possible. And to see my own life get completely shattered into tiny pieces and not be able to stop it, I mean, I was at rock bottom.
Was that like a first time ever in your life where you felt like everything was out of control or not in control? Did you feel like maybe what you thought you had, it was basically out of control? And then I guess this led you to this and bringing more faith into it to get you back up and get you back to where you needed to be?
So what I attributed a lot of this stuff, without a doubt, is when I looked at the self-examination, I wasn't becoming the man that I wanted to be. And I was being mature and successful in business. But as far as relationships go, and as far as maturing in faith, and my principles towards my priorities and my family, and making them a top priority, they had all taken a back seat. It was basically a huge reset for me. It was extremely difficult. I mean, again, brought me to my knees, and I had to really dig in deep. But as far as what was the initial question was,
do you feel like that was the first time ever in your life where you did not have control? Or
yeah, it was the first time in my life that I had to accept that I was powerless.
Okay.
I'm gonna use this analogy. If I had to go through what the mental stress of it would be for a woman to feel like she's getting raped, that's how I was feeling at the time, and there was nothing that I could do about it. Nothing. And it just tore my soul apart.
How long ago was this?
About 3 years ago.
So 3 years ago, you went through this life-changing event. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Before, you weren't really involved with a lot of religion. Am I correct?
Absolutely. That was one of the key components that, surrounding myself with people that were very positive about their faith and putting their faith into action. And it was one of the key components that I didn't make time for. It wasn't a priority because I was like, I'm a good guy. I do good things. I'm not a bad guy. I don't have malicious intent. I don't have malicious intent. So, I'd give myself a pass. And good doesn't make great. And a lot of people substitute and just get complacent with good. And that happens a lot in America. Like, you can be good, but to be great, you need to add some more things to your life. I wasn't growing anymore. And not only was I not growing, I wasn't handling the stress of the success. Mm-hmm. The success comes with stress. Mm-hmm. You're building this something massive. And if you don't have the foundation to support it, you're going to start crumbling. Your feet are going to start sinking in sand while you're trying to hold up the world, so to speak, the world that you built. And if you don't have this solid foundation and strength to hold all that, it's going to fall apart.
It's going to crumble.
That's what happened.
Got you, man. I'm glad you shared that with me, because the reason why I'm asking, the reason why we're on this, once again, I'm here to learn.
Absolutely.
I don't know a lot about the Bible. I've been to church maybe a dozen times in my lifetime. Every time I've went, especially, in the recent, I actually just went about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it, because I like to think that when I'm coaching or whoever I speak to, I'm always in a positive atmosphere and environment, and I always want to deliver the best message possible. So when I go and see what church is like nowadays, I'm like in it, man. I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm like, dude, come on, man, give me more, because it's a huge motivational speech. And every now and then they'll throw in maybe a Bible verse or a scripture to kind of relate how, like a one-liner from the Bible, like you were saying, is how it all relates to our everyday life. And I'm going to tell you something, and this is crazy. And this, if you don't go to church, or anybody out there does not go to church, I'm going to tell you something. This is for real. Every time I have been to church, what he has said has literally related to exactly what I'm going through that time. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. So as far as I believe, we came from somewhere, okay? I believe, okay? There's enough of me to have faith and belief.
Yeah.
But for that to happen, something's happening. Does that make sense?
Well, so to understand church, it's not a building. You walk into a building, but a church is, if there's no people in it, it's just an empty building. Mm-hmm. Church is the people that make up that building. So when we use the word church, when I use the word church, I talk about the people. And honestly, in the Bible, it's called the Sermon on the Mount. It's the first church sermon given by Jesus to like 5,000 people, whatnot. It wasn't in a building. It was on a hill with 5,000 people of believers. So these people came together. So when you have a group of people that have commonality in belief, not exact belief, because everybody's faith is different. Everybody's relationship with their creator is different. It's just like a father. Like I have 2 daughters. I have 2 beautiful daughters. I love them both, but our relationships are different. It's no different with your own heavenly father creator. So what happens is you have a mass of people asking a lot of questions, and they want to answer those questions. So when they come together in a place together, you can feel the vibe and you can feel the energy, because they're focused on what's being said at that time. And what's neat about what you said, I've right around the corner from here is what I call my church home, which I've never had a church home. Been to many churches, but I've never been to a place where I got to know the people of the church, mm-hmm. and them know me, and them genuinely know me back and forth. Like they know my kids, they know my name, they know my story, and they've seen me grow. And so right down the street here, to us, it's a Sci Life Church. It's a non-denominational church, and very powerful messages, and the worship, the vibe, the whole energy there is positive. And so I'll walk in any place. Doesn't matter where I walk in. If the energy and the vibe's good, I stay. I've been to churches, or I've even been to sermons or places where they're talking, and the vibe was bad. I just get up and I walked out. But it's the same thing too when you walk into a party, you work in somebody's house. If the vibe and energy is negative, is bad, nobody's stopping you. Get up and walk out.
Right.
It's a feeling you get. But to what you were saying about when you're seeking something, or you're looking for something, you'll start seeing it, or you'll start hearing it more often, because it's your subconscious trying to be in your conscience. Mm-hmm. And so when you go and you start hearing this, like, man, that dude's talking directly to me. Like, how did he know I was dealing with that? Is there like a camera on the wall? How does he know I'm struggling with exactly what he's talking about today? Because we're humans and we have very common human issues. And they're not a lot. A lot of them have to do strategically with how we act and react in relationships. Those three common things.
Mm-hmm.
And because at the end of the day, that's pretty much what all our lives is about. It's relationships.
It is. It's actually, to me, it's 100% relationships. If it's business, friends, wife, kids, everything is a relationship, in my opinion, to life.
Absolutely.
And in my opinion, is the more positive relationships you have, the better your life and the better your outcome will be. So that's why I love hearing things like this, like your story, like hearing that. It's awesome because to see you overcome stuff like that, where you say it has brought you to your knees, you know, that's a powerful thing to overcome. That's a powerful thing to do, you know. And what's sad is I think nowadays, just observing a lot, especially with social media, I think a lot of people are losing a lot of that power and that faith to overcome those types of experiences.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
One of my deals now, and once again, I'll be honest with you, man, I'm either or. They say atheist, they say Christian. I'm not, I believe. That's
Absolutely.
just it. I just believe. I've seen miracles happen. I mean, but I'm also one of those guys where prove it to me. Show me some facts.
Well, you're human.
Yeah, I just want to know. I want to believe.
Absolutely.
I want to. I'm not the guys that are like, nah, fuck this shit, dude. This shit is a load of shit, man. These dudes didn't know what they're talking about. This shit wasn't even wrote till what, 70, 80 years to after all this stuff was supposed to happen. Like, come on. It sounds like a lot of, but you believe. And what I've learned too, because I've been around a lot of families that are straight God, Jesus, church driven.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all beautiful people.
Sure.
I love them to death. I love them. But one thing I also have noticed out of some people that are like that, it's almost like they're very closed off to certain things.
Absolutely.
And I have almost felt not a warm welcome because either I had tattoos or just my general physique or look.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, everything that I've learned about the Bible you're supposed to be the most welcoming and giving people in the world. So what the fuck is going on now? Like so that's why.
Good question.
That's why it comes down to, like, I love to read about this stuff and I love to listen to. I listen to podcasts about this stuff all the time. So it kind of comes down to, you know, what's the difference between a religion and a cult? You know? So
no, absolutely. So I tell people that you know, especially with Christianity in the United States, there's three things that I tell Christians that they need to accept in front of me, or I'm going to call them a liar. They're a sinner, they're a hypocrite, and they judge. I said, if you can't accept those three things, that you do those things, because I do them, and I'm a Christian. And if you can't accept that you do those three things, then you're lying. We're all human. We all do it, you know? And so the whole point is to get better at not doing it as much and not doing it to where if you do it internally, not externally, where you hurt people. Saving relationships. You save relationships by controlling your actions and reactions to other people, regardless of what your beliefs are. You know, how can you respect? And that's it. It's like, I know without a doubt that I have a creator. You can call it God. You can call him 40 different names. We're talking about the same thing for the most part. 90% of the time, I think most people are talking about the different names that they give God. The master creator, the universe, God, Yahweh, all kinds of names. And I don't care what somebody calls it. What I care about is how you understand how the universe works. You know, if you understand a creator created the universe and you understand universal principles, and the Bible speaks a lot about a lot of universal principles. In this book, you can read the whole thing, but one of the most important things it says in here in this book, by the highest priority, it says to love your God, your creator, with all your heart, mind, and soul first, and then equally love your brother as yourself. That's the number one priority in this entire book. So you don't read the whole thing, but you read that one passage and you follow that passage, you won't have any of the problems that all these people in this book have had for years. Just that one passage. Mm-hmm. And you'll actually, the 10 commandments, if you follow that first commandment, you're already in line with those other 10 commandments by following that first one. And it's also kind of like the golden rule of like 12 other major religions. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you love your neighbor, you love your brother, anybody as yourself, treat them the same way you wish to be treated. It's simple, but we make it more complex than that, and we give an excuse of why we don't do it. And so, at the end of the day, there's the people that go to create the image of who they are on the outside. But on the inside, they're a hot mess. They're a wreck, just like every other human being. And they want to preserve an image instead of like, and that image, the best description is just like a hollow eggshell with no substance or anything on the inside. And there's no substance on the inside because they have just this external fragile shell. And the minute you tap on that fragile shell, they get all nervous because you could break through it like that. And they know it. So they get, if you get close to a sore subject with them, they'll lash out at you and start pointing out problems with you. And it says in the book right there, it says not to judge anybody. So the moment you start, it's like, no. This book is only for one person, the reader. It's not for you to read it and then go contrast the world and start pointing out their problems. You want to change the world? Change you.
Change yourself. Absolutely.
So
I always say that, man. If you're not happy with yourself, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to make anybody around you happy.
Absolutely.
Happiness is within.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed a lot, especially since social media has, hit the world and hit our brains, is that everybody's out to compete with everybody else.
That's right.
This person's in Bora Bora. I need to go to Bora Bora now. Oh, why am I not doing this? Well, this husband's doing this. Well, this wife's doing this. So I feel, and the reason why I love on this discussion here is I feel that even though I have very little faith in wanting to learn how to get more faith, because I believe with what I've just learned from you today, nothing is impossible having this type of motivation or just comfort.
Yeah.
And what I'm understanding is it is from yourself.
Absolutely.
It's all from inside yourself. So back to what I'm saying, I believe that we are in a generation now where a lot of people are steering away from very easy, very common sense type scriptures and one-liners, like you said.
Absolutely.
And it's becoming so complex that everybody is starting to lose their faith. Yeah. And what I just mean by that is I think it's crazy. You shared a story with me a while ago, and you were in a hotel room, and you needed a sign. You needed something. And you said you opened the drawer because most hotels have Bibles in them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I believe it's still the same Bible, as you said.
Yeah, it's this one right here.
Okay, so you still have that same Bible.
Yeah, I borrowed it.
You borrowed it. It was put in your life for a reason, Eric.
Absolutely.
So I guess what I'm saying is it's crazy to me that this is becoming where it's not in schools or not taught anymore. There's a huge ordeal about that right now, even everywhere right now, that there's an argument about something so positive and could change your life as I know it has done for so many people. Why is there even a discussion that this should be taken out of our teaching or upbringing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've analyzed that a lot, and it's for the parents to instill that in their own children. It's their responsibility. It's not the pastor's responsibility. It's not the school's. The school's there to teach them logic and basic things that can build their structure for themselves to be mature humans from an aspect of being able to support themselves. That's their function. The rest of this stuff needs to come from home, and busted homes, broken homes, people that don't focus on faith as being important, societally, if you look at history, and you start branching away from these types of teachings, and you don't build that kind of solid foundation, principles, character for people to withstand life and to treat each other with respect and things like that, and that stuff starts coming unraveled, then people in society's coming unraveled, and that's what you're seeing. And the true growth, and you know this because of what you do, is and part of your mission is when we grow from selfish to unselfish. That's when some of the biggest magic happens. When we grow spiritually as adults from selfish to unselfish, great things happen. Like, today, I mean, me and you are doing this collectively, and there's we're learning, but then we're going to be able to share this with all kinds of people. I wrote this book, paid it out of my own pocket. I haven't made any money back. I've even lowered the price of the book so I can get it in more hands of people. When I wrote it and I published it, I said, look, if I can help one person change their life, the money I spent on that's my legacy.
Absolutely.
That's if one dude, I can stop one dude from pulling the trigger because he lost everything. And, even though he might not be able to return to his house, but he can return to his kids on the weekends or whenever he has them. But I can save that one guy. It was worth the whole investment for me to do that. But I know that, with your help and Tony Watley's help, we are like-minded because we want to give back to our community, our people, and we want to elevate things.
Absolutely.
And we elevate it by working together to achieve, a common goal. So.
That's right.
But the schools, there's options there. There's schools that you can send a kid to go to schools to get that, and a lot of people pay the extra money to do that. And if you watch patterns and observe, kids go from this school to this school to this school, they get a lot of elite access, elite jobs, things of this nature. And it's, some people look at it as privilege, but I know people that don't make a lot of money that still pay the extra money to send their kids to these schools so they can level them up, because they've learned that that wasn't afforded to them, and look where they're at today. But if they can afford that to their kids, it'll elevate their kids.
Right.
And so that's a sacrifice. When we talk about love, roses and trips here and there, the ultimate thing of love is sacrifice. When you sacrifice yourself or part of yourself, your time, your love, your heart, for others, and that's that unselfish part, that's the highest form of love that you can achieve. And when people see that come from you and you pour that into other people, when you need those people, they'll come to your side when you need them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I like that. I want to touch on another topic here while we're on here, because what I've learned and what I've seen and what I've been taught so far of this, everything has been a positive message, but also struggle.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a lot of there's always a cause and effect, failure to success, and almost everything I've heard in Bible scripture.
Yeah.
And that's everyday life. That we were talking about that last show. I fail almost every day, but I learn from failures.
Exactly.
You learn more from failures, but our optimal goal is to always stay positive and keep pushing in the right direction. So when I see such a positive, inspiring book that is here to help us grow, and so many people that I have spoke to has changed their lives dramatically.
Yeah.
Dramatically. I was talking to a guy last week, and he was discussing on how this big, beautiful wedding that I was at, I mean, tons of money got spent at this. It was one of the most beautiful weddings I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But very Bible-driven, very godly man. It's like, yeah, man, but this guy works all the time. No time for his family. No time for his family. No time for his family. And I'm sitting here, and I'm a very ambitious. I'm sitting here thinking, well, dude, I'm gonna work my ass, and I want this life,
Yeah.
But it comes down to really your outlook on life, on what you want and what you consider happiness and love.
That's right.
Because if I'm one guy and I feel that my love is, I'm going to hustle my ass off till the day I die. I hope I never find the pinnacle of my life, because I always want to push myself. And I want to try to be as successful as possible and impact as many people as I can.
Yeah.
And then you got another guy going, well, I could sit in my house all day with my wife and kids with a 40-inch TV, some good food on the table, and spend quality time. I guess it just is a deciding factor of who you want to be and what type of people will accept who you want to be. Because I know some people want the extravagant lifestyle, but they can't put up with the amount of work or the amount of time it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Same thing for the other family man. People want that, but might not want to just sit around and just be a family all the time. Because I've seen people like that. I've seen all types of different people like that, and I've met people like that, and I've been with people like that.
Sure.
So I guess it's that push-pull, what people will put up with, what people, and it's finding, I guess, your ultimate partner. And I'm getting into relationships, but I'm a man that I feel that I'm unstoppable when I have a partner. I like to have somebody there that I can come home to and talk to my day about, and just know that someone's there. It's like, ooh. But I've been in cases where I'm by myself and I'm scatterfucked like crazy. I'm sitting here like, oh shit, I got a show to run today and I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about. And holy shit, dude. And normally I'm on my game,
Yeah.
But I guess once again, it just comes down to what we were just discussing, inner happiness. Finding that inner happiness, harnessing it, holding on to it. How can I spread this to other people in my circle so you get the same connection?
Absolutely.
That's what it's about, man.
Yeah. We talk about mentors. Even though she's my ex-wife, we had a huge blowout. I have a lot of tremendous respect, because your biggest person that pushes you, the person that pushes you to your limits,
or even past them,
or past your limits.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you don't know your limits until you blow them, basically. And then from there, you do kind of three things. You reveal, you analyze, you heal, you fix, then rebuild. And we kind of repeat this pattern, but it's not as, or it shouldn't be as volatile. You'll continue to repeat this process, but in smaller dosages, and it's seamless at some point to where it's just organic. Because that's the process of getting better and better. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes better. One day you might happen to have one of those perfect days where everything is just perfect, but that's just because all the stars align and everything. A lot of things happen outside of your control, not just because of your control, but also because of your faith, your beliefs, and then your actions. But the partner thing that you're talking about, it's amazing, because when people talk about soulmates, they're like, oh, I need to find this soulmate to complete me. I'm like, no, you don't need a soulmate to complete you. You need to complete you. The soulmate needs to complete them. But when you bring each other together, you enhance each other. So, they even say in relationships, okay, if you bring in 50 and you bring in 50, well, it's 100%. Like, no, you bring 100%, I'll bring 100%, it's 200%.
So you're saying right now that if you were bringing 100% or even 80% and nobody else is bringing nothing to the table, that relationship will not work?
Won't work well.
It's going to be a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of struggle.
Yeah, of course.
Have you been there before?
Yeah. I mean, I've been there before, and even on my side, I wasn't bringing my A game, because the reveal process is extremely difficult. Because when you start analyzing some of the characteristics and character flaws of some of the characters in this book, and then you go to the mirror and you go, man, do I got that problem? Do I got that problem? Shit, yeah, I got those problems.
Yeah.
And you're like, crap, they're right. The way God talks is kind of like in three ways. People that are closest to you that love you will tell you things. A lot of times you don't want to hear them, you know, and they hurt you. You're like, oh man, that hurts you. But when that hurts you, that's a sign. You need to, like, why does it hurt me? Because probably it's close to home.
Right.
And they're revealing something to you. You know, God, a piece of God is in all of us. That's the magic piece that it's the biggest reveal that I can tell somebody. I'm like, your creator has a small, tiny thumbprint of him in you. It even says so in this book. But the thing is, until you believe that and you know that, the God in you, the little piece of God, is all you need in you to realize the God in you. And that God in you is that unique piece. Whatever is unique for Jimmy that you bring to this world is amazing. A lot of people keep that on wraps because they're afraid to let that piece out and maybe have it hurt or damaged or whatever. So they build these walls to protect it. But when you build those walls to protect it, you just locked yourself inside those walls, and nobody else can see it. And so that's part of your soul, and your soul's trapped. And the thing is, when you can unleash your soul and let it free, man, like the world wants to see that, and you want to see it so you can be the true, happy, genuine, authentic you, not this trapped soul in this box that the society and world and even yourself has put you in. You know, this when you see that song from Lizzo, she's like the goddess in me. There's part of her song that I can't quote it verse for verse, but she says the goddess in me. And people like, oh, she thinks she's, you know, got part of God or she's godly. Could be godly all day long. It's by your actions. I mean, I could be godly and go walk up to somebody that's destitute and go give them a bunch of money and food and stuff and just prop them back up. That's godly. And I have that ability and I have that authority to do that when I want, how I want, whenever I want. And a lot of people don't exercise that enough in their life. They're waiting for approval for somebody to tell them to go do it. I'm like, you don't need anybody's approval. Go do what you want to set out to go do. You know, Tony will tell you, you know this as well. There's something you want to do, think about it, plan it, and execute it, you know. But at the same time, start doing it, getting it in motion is the biggest thing. Get it in motion so you can start creating that momentum. So there's a lot of connected dots to all this stuff. And I asked why millions of questions. I've thought about God and the universe and aliens and things that we can see, things we can't see. And, you know, the more movies I watch, I understand why some movies are just awesome, because there's something at the core of that movie that's a core of our being. And part of that movie is actually answering some of the questions, you know, like I love watching the Avengers. You know, those movies are awesome because it's like when humans should just bow down and like succumb to, you know, authority or somebody that without doubt should, the odds are, you know, 10 million to 1, we're going to win. We're like, no, we're going to keep fighting, because that's the soul and the spirit. And that's the soul and spirit of that little tiny piece of God. Because the God that created us and created this entire universe, ain't no man going to stop me if that piece of God's in me. And when I see that piece of God in me, when I see it for myself, who's going to stop me? Nobody.
With that type of belief, what could stop you? It's like, I mean, when you actually put it in those terms,
yeah, it's
like being an Avenger. Who's going to stop me?
Who's going to stop you?
Now, I know you said it. Do you believe in aliens?
I mean, the thing is, the universe is so massive and there's so much out there. And if technology, what we know it to be, is, I've never seen what I would consider to be called an alien other than something I can't describe. But do I believe in something else out there in other life forms? Absolutely.
Yeah, I do too. I actually, there's this this guy I listened to on YouTube. His name is Michio Kaku.
Okay.
And he's a physicist, and his expert is black hole theory. He's a physicist at Harvard, and he talks about how alien life is for real. It's definitely for real. But one thing that scares me, and not to get too off topic with this.
No, this is perfectly on topic.
Yeah, it's I like that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
It fascinates me because I like the unknown. It's just like what we're discussing today, because I still have a lot of questions I want to ask you because I like to know. But to stay on this, he was describing as take planet Earth and imagine it like an anthill. Mm-hmm. Okay? Just an anthill. And he described us as our technology and where we at as human beings are like ants to an alien life form right now.
Absolutely.
And imagine this anthill, which is planet Earth, is next to I-10. Okay? Just remodeled I-10. That's super freeway.
Yeah.
Okay? Might I add, a super freeway. He's saying at our point in life right now, aliens, if they are out there, would not even, it would be as little as stepping on an ant.
Absolutely.
That's where our technology and life is right now, to what he believes.
Yeah.
So we're in this big galaxy that is a super freeway with nothing but galaxies and galaxies, which are cars that are just flying by.
Absolutely.
It's like, why would we even bother with that? And the scariest thing is when he actually gets further into this is people are always scared about an alien invasion.
Yeah.
Is that going to happen? Could it happen? What would we do? Are we going to be able to fight these dudes? And his question is no. Because imagine what an anthill next to a super freeway is like. We're not going to have any chance. There is no Independence Day. There is no Will Smith. There is none of that. So on this, I do believe there's life outside of Earth.
Intelligent life forms outside of this, knowing the science that we know. I mean, like, I watch a lot of stuff. I mean, in my book, I quote Albert Einstein. And, you know, a lot of these geniuses, they also know there's some unknown X factors out there. They don't know it all. And they're so smart. These guys are like on this mega smart level, genius amplified. And, I mean, you're talking about black holes. Einstein was one of the first theorists of black holes. And I watch a lot of documentaries on that as well. And that's where time and space change in black holes. And by science, we know that that exists. And so when you start putting together things like time, space, and matter, and all these things changing, we know that to be a fact and that to be true while we float on a rock around a flaming fireball in infinite space. We know that to be true too. Mm-hmm. So accepting other possibilities is not that far stretched. Right. And then also knowing that we are created by something that created all that too.
Right.
So, you know, the beauty of it is to have unequivocal faith is at the point where you actually, at some things that are ultra critical for you to continue your path, you quit asking why. And then your faith becomes your action. You live in your faith by action. You just go, I'm going to do that. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem like a probable outcome. You know, this is like Spock, you know, trying to use his logic. Well, you know, McCoy, that's not going to work because the probability, you know, McCoy's like, oh, look, I feel the discernment. This is what we're going to do, and it works out. Yeah. You know, that's Star Trek back in the day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, while we're on this topic, I'm gonna dive deep in this.
Yeah.
Belief versus faith, two different things. I believe this.
Yeah.
And I can also have faith in this. To me, belief is I saw actual proven facts to back that, and I believe that's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Faith is I'm putting faith in that this happened. Yeah. No facts backing it, but I want to have faith that it happened.
Sure.
So to dive into that, do you believe that 2,000 years ago, when this was written, correct? Was it 2,000 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Mankind didn't even know Earth was round at the time. You know? Did they?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe some people did.
So
Now here's the thing. Knowing something and accepting it.
right. So that's where I'm getting at. So I have this very inspiring, positive book of nothing but failure and success and how to be a better person.
Yeah.
Having faith in it,
Yeah.
but believing it is a lot of question that I see a lot between people is where is believing that this actually went down? So when I actually think about that, I know for a fact we were created somehow. I just don't know for a fact who did it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So when I get it, when I dive into this,
I haven't met that guy yet.
I want to have faith in it.
Yeah.
I want somebody to make me believe it. And
Yeah.
I guess that's where a lot of people too, where my, not necessarily a struggle, is every time I have a message from the Bible or I do go to church, whenever I get invited or I decide to go, it's always positive. I love it. I love it. And that makes me want to believe.
Yeah.
Okay. But my question is to you, and I want to know this from you because you
Sure.
know the Bible. You've read it. You believe it. I want to know, do you believe 2,000 plus years ago that a man crucified on a cross, died for our sins, rose 3 days later, am I correct?
Yeah.
Could turn water into wine, could raise people from the dead. Having all of that, it's almost magical.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of magical. Do you believe that?
And then, magical, magic. Magic is an illusion. And we talked about this earlier. Even if you don't believe the facts of this story, which this is a story.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually, I've had a guy describe this as a love story.
Let me ask you this before we did one guy write the entire Bible? Is it a ton of people?
It's a historical, it's historical documents from many, many sources.
Okay.
And not all those sources are even in this single book as we know it today. There's actually a lot of stuff left out.
And there's an original testament and then a New Testament, correct?
Yeah, there's the Old Testament and then there's a New Testament.
And now, explain to me how that. So there was an original that was wrote, correct?
A lot of stuff in the Old Testament is Jewish.
Okay.
So you had Jewish laws, you had Moses, and Judeo-Christian or Judeo. There's predating Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
After Jesus Christ, you have Christianity. And so the New Testament kind of goes into the spawn of Christianity. I don't claim to know all the details and all the facts of all that, but yeah, there's a clear distinction, and it starts like in Matthew's is the first chapter of the New. But yeah, there's the Old Testament, there's the New Testament, and the Old Testament's kind of crazy because it's like crazy stuff happening, man. Stuff that's like unbelievable, and like ancient times, and we're going all the way back to the Egyptians. Moses starts with leaving Egypt. The Hebrews and all the people that were slaves and all that stuff, this Exodus, they left Egypt. And everything in religion that I always see almost seems to come back to Egypt for some reason or another. And the pyramids are like this massive, iconic structure, mega structure.
The pyramids still creep me out to this day.
Yeah.
I've seen so much. It blows my mind that those things were created with the size of those stones that I have seen on some of these shows.
Yeah.
It blows my mind how that happened. It almost is like, because everything leads towards Alien. I know we're getting back on it.
Yeah.
How did they move that and build those structures? I mean, that is fascinating to me.
So I've done a lot of analysis of all these questions that you're asking. I mean, again, the greatest movies that people pay millions and millions and billions of dollars to go watch and create and make center around these very topics that you're talking about, because they center around what human beings want answers to. Mm-hmm. And so it's always these movies or books that people create to try to solve and answer these questions. But more so to the pyramids, I actually write about it in my book. I was like, you know what? I've always had these thoughts about pyramids and what the meaning is, and I actually put it in my book. And so one of the chapters is called the Pyramid of Life. And it was my explanation. So inside one of the tombs, there's a Yahweh is supposed to be the pronounced verbal name of God, Yahweh. Now that's condensed is Yahweh, YHW. And in old language, you would read from right to left, not left to right. So like Aramaic and Hebrew and some of this stuff, they're actually, when you flip the books open, you actually read from right to left. English and other languages, we read from. So I'm dyslexic. So I see things backwards a lot. And so that's kind of why my mind doesn't work the same as a lot of other people's mind too, because I actually kind of see the end first before the beginning. And so I don't always, I have to see the ending result before I can almost even start something, because that's just how my mind works. That's kind of being in the mind of a person that's dyslexic. But back to the Egyptian thing, on one of the tombs, the description of God, or the first text that they were trying to symbolize God in an Egyptian tomb, is YHW. But if you flip that, mirror that, it's WHY. Why? So what constitutes a human being versus all other creatures on planet Earth is the fact that we actually are the only ones that start asking that question. Why? And so like I dive into a whole chapter of that. And so when human beings start asking why, what happens? We start thinking. And we start thinking, we get out of nature. We're like one of the only creatures, like an ant does what an ant does, a bee does what a bee does, a fish does what a fish does. Humans, we're the only creature on planet Earth that we have patterns, but we also, it's like perfect chaos. You know, it's like this perfect chaos that we live in, and, we live and die by that chaos. You know, sometimes it's really good, people doing these awesome, great things, and then the polar opposite of people doing that is just horrible stuff. And that kind of goes back to the offset of people and energy. And, even scientifically, anything that has an equal and opposite force or reaction, there has to be a counter to that. So good and bad, it's almost like good and bad. It's this inner struggle that's never ending, positive, negative,
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, we always have that cause and effect.
So all this stuff that we're talking about, aliens, positive, negative, science, logic, there's a huge connected dots. And for years, I've tried to connect all those dots, and I've explored it very deep. But my biggest discovery for me was, I can ask as many questions, and there will be an answer. Infinite. So I had to sit here and go, okay, Eric, you can ask infinite questions for the rest of your life, or you can get out of your head and get into your life and just start living life naturally. Let things start naturally and organically happening without trying to overthink it, analyze it, let God guide you, let your skills, let your life that he decided to give me at a place and time to a certain group of people, and just start living within the confines of that life and just make the most of it. Because the one factor we all have, whether we're a fish or a human or any of these things, is time. And so that time becomes extremely precious, and what we do at that time will radiate from here on out. So to give yourself some peace, and I had to give myself some peace, I kind of had to quit asking so many questions and just accepting some things. And that leads back to faith. I got to accept something.
Yeah.
I have a choice.
For sure.
So.
Yeah, it gets down to me because I'm learning.
Yeah.
I like this. That's why I
Absolutely.
like asking the questions. And one thing that I always have just been kind of up about, because I hear God.
Yeah.
I hear Jesus.
Yeah.
I hear this, this guy did all the, died on the cross, and this is Jesus.
Yeah.
God. So which is the Almighty? Which is the Heavenly Father? Who are we actually praising? Like what is it Jesus or is it God? Which one?
I mean, if I had to choose one, I call God to me is my first father. There's is it Hebrew? I think it's Hebrew. It's called Abba, and it's Abba Father. It's God Father. Not like Godfather, like
I got you.
But so to kind of answer that question, if I have to pick one, it's my first creator, the guy being, whatever you want to give it a name, that created me. He's ultimately my father. He spawned life into me, so I have to give him acknowledgement. I have to giving him acknowledgement allows me to actually have a relationship with him. So if you don't give him acknowledgement, it's like if you have kids, but they don't acknowledge you, how would you feel as a parent or a father? You'd feel horrible. You feel empty. And you're like, you don't even ask me for guidance. You don't ask me for love. You don't ask me for anything. Like, I created you. You unthankful, ungrateful little kids, you know?
But the connection is obviously way different.
Oh yeah. It's a spiritual connection.
Right.
It's you have to actually have faith in that spiritual connection with something that actually created you that makes it unique and special. And that's what's missing in a lot of people. They don't have that connection. And when you're displaced from that connection, from the creator of the universe, how do you have faith and belief?
Yeah, it's almost like, where do you find? I'm on board with you because I'm trying to relate. I'm trying to relate to it, like how you're talking as me. Because right now I can tell you, and this is the God honest truth.
Sure.
I've never had a relationship with God.
Absolutely.
Have I prayed? But I'm just going to throw this out there. The last time I can actually remember, I pray.
Yeah.
You know, I prayed just a couple weeks ago. You know, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but I remember, you know what, I'm going to pray just because I was asked to pray, and we prayed.
Sure.
But not to. I remember I got so high one time.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I got so high off hitting this Gravitron bong when I was about.
Now we're going Joe Rogan.
About 19, man.
Yeah.
And I remember after I was done, the only thing I knew what to do was to pray. And I prayed to God. I said, dude, if you make me right again, I will never do this shit again. Of course, I was right again because it's weed.
Yeah.
And you know what? I never hit that fucking thing again. But when you say like what we're discussing, if you had to choose one, I remember that time I prayed to God. So, you know, even though it's kind of a silly, silly, but I'm trying to relate because what you're saying is people have to learn how to have the faith in everything, or faith in God, or faith in Jesus to believe it. Is that what we're getting to?
Yeah. I mean, so, you know, if you can have faith in your own self, knowing that you didn't create yourself, if you can have faith in your own self that you can get up and go pump some iron, or you can go work on a car, you can go do something, and you know you have faith in your abilities, and you're just a simple human, and you know that you didn't create yourself, that's arrogance. You know, there's a lot of arrogance in that. A little bit to focus on the whole God Jesus thing. I struggle a lot with that. You know, but you remember we talked about love and sacrifice?
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, what's kind of neat in the Bible is like it foreshadows. It's metaphoric. It foreshadows all kinds of stuff. It's like an awesome movie, you know? I mean, there's been tons of movies made out of it that they've changed the names and the faces and the characters, but the movies, the storylines are the you know, David versus Goliath, this little dude versus this giant. I mean, how many times has that story been? Watch the Avengers. That's the plot line.
That's one of the only story. If I can think about stories from the Bible, the ones I remember is David and Goliath, Noah's Ark, and that's it.
So back to the Jesus thing. So here's what makes Christianity completely different from all other major religions that I have studied today. I'm a father of 2 daughters. And if I had to give the ultimate sacrifice to this world, would it be a money, car, my own life? No. if I actually had to sacrifice one of my children for a bunch of sinners so that all of their sins could be forgiven, so that one day they could actually return home and go back home. And when I say home is like, you know, I think a lot of people are going to resonate with this. Like, you almost feel like an alien on earth sometimes, because you're like, really, this, you know, I feel alienated. I feel like this, you know, I'm in pain and suffering and torture and have to deal with all kinds of crap. Like, man, I just want peace, rest in peace. And like, when you think about going home, home's supposed to be the place where you find rest and peace. But here on earth, you're never going to find rest and peace until the day that you die, because your true home in your spirit, because that's what lives on, not your body, not your flesh, your soul, your spirit. Your spirit gets to go home. And in order for our spirits to go home to a pure place, like heaven's pure. It's pure as pure can get. You think they're going to let anything toxic into heaven? Absolutely not. And humans have failed and failed and failed to just self-correct themselves, to be these ultimate humans, to love your brother as yourself, because of selfishness and being human. That's our flaw. We're created humans. Mm-hmm. We're going to fail by design, not by accident, by design. And it's like seeing your kid struggle to try to hit a base hit. He's struggling, but the fact that you see him get up there and try his hardest every time, and he's trying, parents so proud just to see him try. Not the fact that he hit a home run, but that he'll get up every time and try his butt off to hit that base hit or just hit the ball, period, when other kids are just cranking home runs and they're ultimate athletes. But a parent can be proud that that child never quits or gives up to the day he dies. So Jesus is that sacrifice. We talk about love being, you know, true love being the ultimate sacrifice. So Jesus was that sacrifice. It's the only religion that says, hey, I sacrificed my only one and begotten son, my only child. He was pure. He was innocent. What did he do wrong? He tried to show you a better way of life. And he was willing to live and die for what Jesus believed in. And he did by his action. So if his action didn't occur, that's the proof. You know, when humans need proof, they don't need a thought. They don't need a mythology. They don't need you to write a book. They need to see you actually live and die by your convictions and your beliefs. Was that man willing to live and die? He was. And now what's crazy is, at that time in history, Romans kept great historical documents of all kinds of events. The Romans didn't even want to crucify Jesus. It was the Jews. They're like, he's saying he's the Son of God. Well, guess what I'll say today on the air? I'm a son of God. I am a child of God. God, my Creator created me. I'm a product of my Creator. You know, back then that was blasphemy. You're like, you're a son of God? You think that you can do godly things? I know I can do godly things. Does it make me God? No. I know who I'm not. Mm-hmm. I know who I'm not. I am not Jesus, and I'm not God. I'm Eric, but I am still of the essence of the same Father and God that created Jesus, created me. Does it make Jesus or me any more different or special than each other? Nope. You know, a lot of people are, oh my God, I can't believe you would say that. But you know what? My brother Jesus, my brother Jimmy, other people in life, I don't measure them like this. Mm-hmm. I'm a man. You're a man. You put your pants and your shoes on one pant at a time. You know, the President of the United States could be in this room. I'll give him no more respect than the same respect that I give you and my friends and family. We're all going to treat each other the same and equal. That's just how I roll. And that's the gift that's been put into me by my Creator a long time ago when I was little. I just know how to respect other people as an equal, as a human. Not, you got this experience and you've got this money and no. You're a man and I'm a man. We're going to love and respect each other at that level. Mm-hmm. We get out of context with it, we got a problem. Or I got a problem. So.
Yeah, man. So ultimately, and this is the same thing that I've just been witnessing and learning, is it's really comes down to your faith. It comes down to the faith in you and what you want to believe. Because it's like you say, God, I have a fingerprint. There's a little bit of fingerprint. My creator created me.
Yes.
But it's up to me as a human being, because I'm human. I fail and fuck up every day.
Absolutely.
I'm not perfect by any means. But it's up to me to have faith to believe that my heavenly Father, correct?
Yeah.
Or like you said, what was the other term that you used?
Abba Father.
Yeah. So it's up to me to believe, and I guess, not guess, but know that that's some sort of comfort. And
absolutely,
I have seen that in people. A lot of people that I have grown up around that are all about the Bible.
Yeah.
I see that in them. No matter what obstacle or a bad time, we know we have bad times.
Yeah.
That's always going to be, it's human nature.
How do you act and react to the bad time? That's the difference.
Right.
When everything's easy, Jimmy, it's easy.
It's easy.
When it's difficult as fuck, what's your source? What's your source of power that keeps you calm in the storm?
Yeah.
And that's my piece. I mean, I can now withstand shitstorms when I couldn't before.
Mm-hmm.
I used to want to run. I used to want to I wanted to manipulate the situation. I wanted to say it was somebody else's fault. Or now I'm like, no.
So now do you feel that if you were in a bad time or anything that might feel like it's taking you down that course where you might be back on your knees, do you go strictly to the Bible now? Or do you already have that faith or belief inside of you to know how to overcome that feeling?
Yeah. I mean, I've in the title, below the lost, it says how to decode yourself, biblical scripture. And this is like hacking decoding because it's to getting people to understand it and know it now. It's 2020. It's not, 200, 300, 400,000 years ago. So, to harness real lasting power. Like, this doesn't work. None of this works until you get to that elevated point in your life where that faith is in you as part of who you are. Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this, and this is just questions I want to throw out for all of our viewers.
Sure.
What makes this motivational book, the Bible, which I believe, that's what, to me, every time I've heard anything from the Bible, it's a life struggle with whoever they're discussing in there, how they overcame it, how God or Jesus or whatever they had faith in inspired them, and it's a whole bunch of motivation to keep us motivated. How is that book any different from The Lost Art of Faith, your book?
Well,
what makes your book right now, 2,000 years later, becoming the new Bible?
I wouldn't even make that transition of the new Bible, but I know what you're saying.
The reason why I'm asking this is because I'm going off of, and this is just going back because I want to believe.
Yeah.
We got.
Well, you're asking me for proof. I'm here.
Yeah.
And Jesus, I hate to say, is he with us in spirit? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, I can say is he here in the room with us? No. I can't attest for things that I did not see and observe in my lifetime. I can't.
But the reason why I'm asking, it's just like you're saying, because you didn't see, you can't.
I wasn't there.
From what I understand and all the research that I have done, that when the Bible was wrote, nobody actually witnessed all these situations happening. It was written, I think it was the first book was 80 something years after. So there was no actual witnesses that he rose from the dead and he turned water into wine. It was all.
Well, I can't say that there was or wasn't, but I know exactly what you're saying. And again, if we just dismissed the physicality of it because we're not in that time space right now, we're in the now. If you even take the historical whatever and just toss it out the window, the message that's conveyed, that's the most important thing, is the message of what it conveys and what we can learn from that message.
For sure.
If the historical facts are completely wrong and fictitious and made up, great, chunk that out the window. But if the message that's here can be help us, does it make it any less powerful?
Let me ask you this, and this might hit home, but I just want to know.
Yeah.
Since this has dramatically changed your life in a very positive way, because I've been watching everything you do. I love it, dude. I love it. This is the one thing that actually scares me wanting to learn more about this. Imagine somebody that was brought up in a household, nothing but the Bible. Like you said, bring it back into families. Let's teach it. Okay?
Yeah.
And we're reading from scripture, from a book that was wrote as we were getting into this, not basically by the people that witnessed this, but a variety of different people that could have been easily manipulated and then imagine you living your whole life under that.
Yeah. And one day
passing away and there was nothing.
Okay.
There was no heavenly gates. There was the harp. No, none of
nothing.
There was nothing.
Nothing.
I got goosebumps that just went down my whole body asking that question.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. We're human beings.
Everybody contemplates that question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. That's an awesome question. And we'll hit it head on, is that if you change to be positive because of this message and there wasn't anything, but it changed your life and the time that you impacted here,
it's all worth it.
Who gives a shit? Because if what happens in the end happens in the end, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But if you could give somebody, there's influence. There could be negative or positive, or no, manipulation. Mm-hmm. Manipulation. Yeah. Positive or negative manipulation. If you manipulated somebody in a positive way to do something more positive and be more positive and it benefited them, would you take that?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So I've contemplated the exact same thing. I get there, man, and there's nothing. But the positive impact that I leave behind for my kids, my family, my friends, that'll never be taken. And the domino effect and the ripple effect that will have on this earth for the rest of my life. What's that Marcus Aurelius quote about something in eternity? I can't remember it word for word, but what we do here and now echoes in eternity. Because you can't take away what we do. Once it's done, it's done. Just like the story of Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't found anything. I haven't found anything on planet Earth that has been more controversial, more talked about, more contemplated, more thought of than the story of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, either, man. And that's why because I always have I want to learn. Like I said, I'm a sponge, bro. I love to yeah. I can't say when I hear people, I'm super intelligent. But I don't give a shit till the day you're going to learn something new. Everybody I meet, I learn something new. So when I think about the Bible, and then I actually ask people that actually read this thing every day, all right, and actually preach it. Yeah. Some of them actually sing in the choirs in the church that I know.
Yeah.
So when I start asking these questions, I never really get a dead-on straight answer because nobody really fucking knows. Nobody really knows.
Or some people are scared to give you an answer because and the answers I'm giving you are the answers that I have conclusions of like years and years of discovery, inner and external discovery, and observation of how it does and doesn't work. And the cool thing is I have 2 daughters that are young and they're my offspring. So you know how I used to tell you, I ask why is the sky blue? Hey mom, why? Like my mom was like, shut up, like quit asking why. Like, like go to school, you'll figure it out. But my daughters are inquisitive in the exact same way. And I'm spitfire shoot answers to them like there's no tomorrow. So the beauty of that is, and I'm very solid in my answers to them. Like it's there's a part of the Bible that says, let your yeses be yeses and your noes be noes. Like people that hesitate, you can see that because their confidence in the content that they're talking about, they don't have any because they haven't put the time, the experience, the knowledge, and then seen the effects of those things. And once you have all that and somebody asks you a dead-on question, could I be wrong in some of those areas? Sure, why not? But I don't care. I'm satisfied enough with what I know at this point, knowing that I could add something to it and learn and know more down the road.
For sure. Let me ask you this. Do you believe, when was the Bible wrote? 2,500 years ago, about there? Mm-hmm. Do you believe that's when the earth was created?
No. I believe that I serve a God that time, space, and matter don't apply to him. So when humans think they can have discovered something, they could have put something there to just keep you off course, so that you still have to contemplate faith. Because that's the thing. If we had all the answers, why would we need God?
Right. I guess my question to that is, you know, we go to a museum.
Yeah, fossils. Dinosaurs. Yeah.
I mean, but even I question that, because how the fuck do you know that is 2 million years old? You know, like, but there's fucking fossils. And another thing that's crazy too, and this is for real.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen The Fourth Kind? The movie The Fourth Kind?
I haven't, no.
So it's not real, but they made it as real as fucking possible.
Yeah.
But parts in the movie are real.
Okay.
In a museum, you can go into a museum and see artifacts with alienated images.
Sure.
Spaceships, gas masks, stuff like that, on stuff that's dated before Christ.
Okay.
So when I was getting into the pyramid stuff, it was kind of like they always go to the pyramid as alien, you know, landing docks and shit like that. But
Stargate, man, why not?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But back on my topic, you know, when I see and hear people that just firmly believe that the earth was created 2,500 years ago or 2,000 years ago, and then we have all these other scientific facts, you know, that we've discovered, and then their faith or belief is so strong that we're not even going to go against the facts.
No.
So my question,
they're not open-minded.
That's why when I get into this and this even brings me to why are there so many different religions if there was a God and a Jesus? You know, why is there Jews? Am I correct? Is that a different type of?
Oh yeah.
So you got that. You got Muslim.
Yeah.
Right. So and then you got Catholic,
Buddha.
Yeah. So
Hinduism.
If there is one God Almighty, Heavenly Father, Creator.
Yeah.
Why isn't the entire human race only praising that one Creator?
And that's a great question too, is because as civilization moved on, there's cultures. It's in close proximity to something. The closer you are in proximity to something, makes it more real. Proof. I mean, the scientific facts of exactly what I'm saying. The closer to proximity, like, you believe I'm here, you can touch me and you can feel me.
Yeah.
So you have more of a belief in me.
Absolutely.
Now, if I was 6,000 miles from here, but you could hear my voice, would you still believe in me?
I would. I can hear your fucking voice.
Yeah. but you know I exist too. But proximity makes something, so when the people of that particular culture looked up in the sky, made some observations, and told that culture there, hey, this is what I found, and this is what I believe, and they're like, that sounds pretty darn good. That's pretty close to what I believe too, and that makes sense. Well, come from the same educational background, culture in that area, so it's only natural to do that. Now, the people that start believing outside of that, they get cast out of those clans, groups,
right?
Whatever, you know, and they're not practicing one of their core principles of loving your brother as yourself. So there's hypocrites in all these different religions. And I'm like, I call them out like an umpire. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
your number one thing that you say is your priority. Let's get that priority list back up here again.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the priority. Not here. But if your own faith says to be loved and kinding and treat your brother as yourself, you know, I mean, you know, everybody wants to look at America and kind of look at us as hypocrites, but it's human beings, period. I mean, even again, you give me a Quran, you give me a Bible, whatever, they're all historical facts of how mankind has treated other men good or bad.
Right.
And the repercussions of that.
So I guess guys, if we got people on live right now, what I've taken out of this whole experience with you today is ultimately faith.
Yeah.
It's faith.
Faith.
Because I'm hearing...
Not a brand, not Nike or Reebok or Adidas by brand. They're all shoes. They're all shoes.
Yeah. To me, and this is just everything I've learned over all of my years of living, it's faith. It's just...
Yeah.
having that to understand that there is a level of comfort or somebody you can pray or have faith in to keep you motivated and going in a positive direction.
Absolutely.
I like it, man.
Yeah.
I like it, man. Eric, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming on the show today.
All right, brother.
Looking forward to reading your book, man. So we'll see you next time, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.